£350 million a day.
I don't believe that is wrong. That is the gross figure. And I think people say, oh, well, we get money back. But, you know, Andrew, when I pay my council tax, I don't say, oh, well, I get a rebate because they fill in the potholes on the road or not. But that is the money, that is the gross figure that we hand over every day. So
but you don't hand that over. Let's just unpick this. The £350 million a day is based on last year's figure of a gross fee of 18 billion. That comes in at £350 million a day. But we don't pay 18 billion. We don't even send 18 billion and then get a 5 billion rebate. We take the 5 billion off before we send the money. So the most we send is 13 billion. That's not 350 million a day.
Well, look, 13 billion, I would argue that that is still an extortion amount of money.
But it's not 350 million pounds a day, agreed.
Well, it's certainly enough to build a brand new hospital, which is what we say that 350 million
pounds a day.
Okay, so it's 350 million, what, every day and a half?
Well, let's just unpick it a little further,
really
because
matter?
we're now, well, it does, because you use the figures. And what I've found since this referendum campaign started is on both sides, people would like the facts and not propaganda.
Yeah. Well, I agree.
So we're down to 13 billion now, because we don't send the rebate money. 5 billion comes off. We then get 4.5 billion back further in the form of regional aid and farming subsidies, which brings the net cost down to 8.5 billion. That is 163 million a day.
But again, this is slightly disingenuous because the money that we get back comes with very strong strings attached. Very often, you know, the money that we get has to be match funded by local councils. I was speaking to the leader of Kent County Council quite recently. He said, frankly, the way in which the restrictions they put on the money we actually get, we might as well not have it.
But it comes back. Of course it comes back with strings. At other times, it has to be match funded. So again, you're taking money out of essential local council budgets. And the net figure is 8.5 billion, which is 163 million a day, which is half of your 350 figure.
Andrew,
what's wrong with that arithmetic?
I'm not questioning your arithmetic at all. But the point is, when that money comes back, we have no control over it. We are told by the EU how we must spend it. Now, wouldn't you rather have 180 million a day to actually spend in the way that it should be spent on the British people?
You accept
After all, let's not forget, it's not EU money, it's British taxpayers' money.
You accept it, and it's, by the way, it's a week. You accept that it's 163 million a week, not 350.
Well, I'm prepared to look at your figures. I think the figure of 350 is the more kind of the right figure in the sense that that's the amount that we could have control over.
Well,
and
we don't, because it includes 5 billion of the rebate,
this is ultimately
which we don't spend.
This is ultimately what this campaign is about. Who has control here? It's about cost. It's about the extortionate waste that the EU has. But it's fundamentally more important. It's about democracy. It's about the future of this country.
Let me just ask
and that's
you
the
this
argument that's going to sway most people, I think, not the nitty-gritty of the costs.
Well, except that in the end, facts matter.
Yeah, but
and of the 4.5 billion rebate of money that they send here to spend, on top of the 5 billion rebate, most of that goes on regional subsidies to the poorer parts of the country, and most of it and the other bit goes on farm subsidies. Is it your case that if we were independent, we wouldn't spend any of that 4 billion on regional aid or farm subsidies?
No, of course it isn't. And I mean, I can only speak for UKIP. You know, we put forward in our general election manifesto a very good example of how farm subsidies would work under our policy proposals. So you would spend some of that money? Of course we would, but at the moment, what we give out, what we pay towards the Common Agricultural Policy, we only get half back. Sure. Again, it's about saying to farmers, you know, how do you want to have your subsidies? Do you want to have money that comes from the British government, and then you can lobby the British government as to how you spend it?
And you would spend it in a different way, and you may even spend it in a better way. We don't know.
I'm sure we would.
But it's not a saving.
Well, it is a saving because, again, you're talking about the match funding that I mentioned, the strings attached that you have. Of course, we're going to spend it. The whole point of the Leave campaign is that we will have this money that we're now giving to the European Union to be able to spend here at home in the way that we want it. And that's got to be for the good.
You didn't, frankly, have the balls to put country before party.